apologize wholeheartedly. Not that I didn't realize what was going on tonight, but we had some in-depth conversations upstairs that we had to deal with. Unfortunately, again, I apologize to all who came here to see what's going on tonight. Okay, here we go. So at this time, everybody's here. Good to see you all. At this time, I'll recall to recall the order of the Suffern Central School District Board of Education meeting Tuesday, November 21st, 2017. If you could all please stay standing for the pledge. Chief, if you would.
Of course, pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's freezing here. How are you? You look like you're ready to read something. Bring it on, son. Here we go. Student report. 1.07. You have to talk about
No. I'll talk about it. Good evening. Say hi to all my Connor teachers. Here's what's going on at the high school. The big reveal of the spring musical will be tomorrow at lunch, so stay tuned. The hockey season kicks off this Saturday, November 25th, at 7 p.m. at Sportorama. There will be an SAT at the high school on December 2nd, and on December 4th, there will be a blood drive at the high school. Finally, in spirit of the upcoming holiday, this week the History Honor Society has been selling turkey grams. Turkey grams are small bags of candy that have a little Happy Thanksgiving note attached to them. Students and teachers can send the notes to their peers to wish them a Happy Thanksgiving. Tomorrow, during lunch, they will be delivered throughout the school by me in a turkey costume. That is all for tonight's announcement. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Gobble, gobble. Make sure there's some pictures. Okay? Send somebody over there. Oh, no, everybody has an iPhone, right? Okay, so we're good. 1.08 minutes of the regular meeting of November 7, 2017. Chair would entertain a motion to accept those minutes as so stated. So we Teresa, second.
I'll make second it.
That would be Clark, second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Unanimous. Superintendent's comments. Dr. Adams, 1.09.
I'll dispense with my comments so we can get to the CSD Center.
Okay, I just want to, I have to thank the culinary classes. I don't know, we didn't bring it downstairs, but they made this amazing chocolate and cookie thing for us. Cornucopia. Excuse me, cornucopia. You should see the detail in it. It's actually upstairs. Really, really cool. Take it home. Just kidding. Public participation 1.10. Public participation as to action items only. Those are the items behind me. 2.01 through 2.01 through 2.11.
All right, well,
Oh, they were. They should 5.
thank you, Mom.
11. Won't delete. There we go, 2.1. Okay, oh, there he is. Thank you. Okay, so 2.01 through 2.11, those are the action items. This session will last no longer than 30 minutes. If anybody would like to address the board with respect to any of those items, please step up to the podium, state your name and school affiliation, and perhaps an email address or something for which we can contact you back. Just as a reminder, of course, pursuant to policy 1230, 1400, and 3240, refrain from making comment with respect to any district personnel, staff, or student. Seeing none, thank you. I'll close that portion of the meeting. Action items, which is 2.01 through 2.11. I was not asked to pull any of those items.
I just want to pull one for question.
I'm sorry.
2.09.
2.09. Is it just a general question? Will it affect the vote? Or
One question.
do you want to just ask
Should
it
be
now
done before the vote. That would be great.
Okay.
If the administration can please just share with us. Sorry. If the admin can share with us, what do we do with the surplus that we have? It's a pretty extensive list, and I know these come along once in a while, so how do we be part of it, or?
The 2.10 surplus list?
Yeah,
Oh, 1-0.
Yeah, 1-0.
the surplus, 2.10, sorry. The numbers changed.
So you're asking what the process is? Amanda?
Yeah.
We advertise this in certain publications that will advertise for used products. We also let other school districts know about the surplus list. We post it on our website. And most of the stuff will be purchased, but not all of it. Some of it is really way past its useful life. And so at the end of the period for the surplus list, we'll dispose of some of those items.
So whatever doesn't get purchased gets disposed of?
Yes.
And what's that period within which people can buy?
I believe it's 30 days.
And where is it posted on the district website?
Yes.
Where?
I'd have to look at the website to find it. I believe it's under the business office. The business office department.
So those are already posted?
I think it'll be posted tomorrow after you approve it, if you approve the surplus list tonight.
Okay. How about community groups that are looking for donations? Are we permitted to do any of that legally or not?
To donate the equipment?
Anything
No.
that's not purchased?
No, but
So we're just part of it?
well, but if a group is interested and we've got, it's day 30 and there's not been any purchasers, sometimes it'll be bundled together and can sell used desks 10 for $10 or something like that. So it's really steeply discounted because we don't want to throw it away. If somebody can use the surplus equipment, then that would be our
So we kind of
preference.
clear it after the
Yes.
process is over?
Yes.
Okay.
Just get them.
Because I asked because I've been asked by a lot of community groups what happens to things the district doesn't use.
But officially, we can't give it away, but if they express interest to us, we can
Okay.
discount it on day 30.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, good. Then, so for 2.01 through 2.11, Chair will entertain a motion to accept those items as so stated.
I'll make it.
That would be Clark. Second. Teresa. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstentions, unanimous. Okay, we have 3.01, which we've all been waiting for. Principal Dowd, if you would, you're first. Thank you.
Very
I know, working so well.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education, Dr. Adams, Hilbert Administration. It is a pleasure to be here tonight to share the comprehensive school improvement plan for R.P. Connor Elementary. We began the school year by discussing what success looks like at R.P. Connor. We believe that we are successful when we are able to inspire students to demonstrate their belief in themselves and achieve their fullest potential. We at R.P. Connor are taking a look at the learning trajectory, the learning path. We're using assessment data to determine where individual students are and working with each student to set goals for where we would like the students to be. We have 3 priorities at R.P. Connor. We believe that by increasing students' access to books, creating hands-on, minds-on math experiences, and fostering an environment where students feel healthy, safe, and supported, the R.P. Connor students will achieve their learning goals and progress along the learning trajectory. Oops.
Sorry.
That's okay. So how do we inspire student learning at RPC? So we first believe that students need choice. We believe that when students have choice, they have ownership in what they're doing.
We know that when you have ownership in what you're doing, you value it. When you value what you're doing, you're engaged in it. When you're engaged, you're learning. We believe at RB Connor that we are able to achieve success by engaging students in learning to their fullest potential. So how did we do in 2016-17? Let's take a look. Sorry. Okay, so one of our goals, as we said before, was to increase the amount of books that students have in their hands. So as you can see, we wanted to an overall reading proficiency to increase our students by 10% in grades 1 through 5. So the blue represents the fall, where students came in, and the red represents the spring, where they exited for the 2016-17 school year. So our goal was to increase by 10% overall in grades 1 through 5, so we've exceeded that goal. We actually increased by 16%, so we're really excited about that. What we're super excited about is grade 4. The students came in at 24%, exited at 64%. So we're really excited about that. So we spent a lot of time going through classroom libraries. We took books out of closets and really put books in kids' hands they wanted to read, the voice, the choice, the ownership, and we put a lot of time into independent reading and really making that a piece of our school. So that is amazing data. So we also looked at the NWEA. So our other goal was that students in grades 1 through 5 would match or exceed the growth projections that are established by the NWEA. So the blue represents the computer projects growth for the students, and the red is our actual observed growth. So you'll see that in 4 out of 5 grade levels, that we exceeded the growth expectations that were set by the computer, so we're by the program. So this is exciting for us. And again, if you look at grade 2, the students went from a 4.6 to a 9.7, and we actually had the second graders for the first time. They had to read the test. It wasn't read to them. So this is really awesome data. And that means that our third graders coming in, we were better prepared to support them. So that's really awesome. They're all awesome, but that's really great because the kids had to read it. So we worked so hard last year on increasing the students' reading proficiency levels, so we didn't want that learning to stop over the summer. And we know through research that when students are out of school, they can drop 2 months of learning. So knowing that, we wanted to be proactive and put things in place for the kids. So thankfully, through Title I money, we were able to give every student in grades K through 4 a bag to take home. And in the bag, there were 5 nonfiction books. We know that kids have to read 4 to 6 books over the summer, engage in activities, and they will avoid the summer slide. So if you do not give kids encouragement to read, they could by 5th grade be behind 2 to 3 years. So that's pretty significant. So as you can see here, so in the bottom corner, we started off with a kickoff assembly to really get the kids excited, like, ooh, we're gonna read over the summer. So the PTA was awesome. They gave us, Prismatic came in and did this really cool laser light reading, reading is awesome kind of thing. The PTA also purchased for us these beautiful Cougar medallions, so any student that earned points to the AL360 Club got their medallion. The Boulder Bird came and gave out so many awards. And the kids got really pumped to read. We also, at the PTA meetings, talked about summer slide and why it's so important to read. We sent out motivational tweets and just reminded everyone to keep reading. We had a summer social in July and 75 families attended, so that's pretty huge for July. One woman actually had still had sand in her hair. She's like, my kid wanted to leave the beach to come here, and I was like, this is great. So they came. So we wanted to know, did it make an impact? Like, we have this Title I money, we bought these reading bags, PTA gave us money for the assembly. Did it make a difference? So you see there on the pie chart, we took last year's exiting second graders, we compared them now in 3rd grade, fall, spring to fall. The blue represents stayed the same, the red is a slide, and the orange represents growth. So that is pretty powerful. Remember those 4th graders who were at 64%? They're now in 5th grade. Look at that awesome growth. So this is huge. They're coming into school having gained versus lost. So money well spent. Yes. Okay. So we had many actions last year to have this significant impact in our data. So the first thing is, when you're going to cozy up to read a book, you're not going to sit at your hard kitchen table. Just saying. So we created cozy seating in our school. So there are beanbag chairs and couches, and we bought rugs and all kinds of things. We invested in the libraries. We asked the kids to survey what they wanted to read, and we were committed to 30 minutes a day of reading independently every day, grades 3 through 5. And we know through research, if you read during the day, you will be more inclined to read at home. So we wanted kids to go home and continue reading. So that was the area that we really focused on. We also wanted to hold the kids accountable. So through Title I dollars, we purchased AR360, which is it's an online program where kids read real books, and then they take quizzes on the computer. And the quizzes are for the kids to track their the comprehension, vocabulary, and the kids earn points. So if you're, let's say, like a 500 lexile, the computer will say, all right, you have to earn 15 points. And then you may have to earn 60 points. So it's based on your reading level. So the kids are reading, hopping on, taking the quiz. So we wanted to say, as a building, let's get excited about this. So we made this gigantic graph, as you could see. It was huge, and we said we were successful with all of our students in grades 2 through 5, which is 268 kids, are in the AR360 Points Club. You could have 25 points to get in. Everyone thought I was crazy. There's no way these kids are going to get elites. So in January, June, just started. We ended up with 278 kids, 268 made it to the club. So that was awesome. So again, it just shows the commitment of the kids, and we tracked it. Poor Charlene had to climb up and put the little red squares. She was cutting them up so perfectly, but that was our building motivator. So the kids would walk by and say, what's that? What's this? How many points do you have? And so it was an awesome way. And we have Sue Perio, who's amazing, literacy coach for the district. Last year, we implemented 2 of the Teachers College writing units. She came into the school. She had 2 residencies. And she coached our teachers, also Miss Bean, our instructional facilitator. She created lab sites. So we helped our teachers along the learning trajectory and also helped the students along the way. So that was really, really powerful work for us. New for 2017-18, this year we're going to tackle 4 Teachers College units. And you see here in the photographs, we have writing partnerships set up for this year. So not only the teachers coaching the kids, but fellow peers are coaching each other along the learning trajectory. We also have students setting goals for themselves. Last year, we were doing some of the goal setting. This year, they are owning that work. So you'll see there at the bottom, they're assessing their writing, and they're saying, this is what I like to work on. The teacher says, this is also what I want you to work on. So it's a collaborative effort. And then also on top, you'll see there, last year I had the big graph. This year, every single classroom has their own individual graph. In this case, this is Miss Bianchi's beautiful flowers there. And she has them doing, for every percentage towards your goal, you get a pedal. So when you get to the top, you're at 100%. So again, it doesn't matter if you're earning 10 points or you're earning 50 points, we're all working to 100%. So it levels the playing field, everyone gets excited, and everyone can be successful. And they're all over the school, so the kids just motivate each other and get happy about reading. So math, we always do awesome in math. For this one, we also use the NWEA, and for this one, we said we wanted to match or exceed the growth projections established by the NWEA. And you'll see the blue is projected growth, and the green is our actual observed growth. So in all areas, we've exceeded with the expectations set by the NWEA. So I think 5th grade is a super awesome one. They're all awesome, but 4.7 to 13.9, pretty huge. So, it's great because we are taking kids along the trajectory, differentiating our instruction. NWEA has a way of, you can actually pinpoint where kids are above and below, and you can really move them along. So that's powerful data. We also use the district common assessment. So our goal was to increase by 10% in grades 1 through 5. And as you can see, we've increased by 11% for the school year. So next year we hope to increase to 10%, but we're making progress. So over the summer, there's something called a math slide. I don't know if you guys knew about that, but math slide is real. Most people don't curl up at night to a math equation book. Some people might, but it's not a common practice that you practice your math facts. You might, Lee, I don't know, but I really don't. But so we know that kids fall over the summer. You're not practicing your fluency. You're not really engaged in numeracy. So again, we went to our PTA and said, we have ideas. So in that same bag that went home, we bought every single student, thanks to the PTA, got a set of dice, which was a lot of dice that goes to baggies. It's a lot of kids. So everyone in K through 4 had a series of math games and dice. So we asked the kids to play the diner, play the pool, play the bowling alley. The dice were small, the games were easy to play, and as a way to keep them going with fluency and numeracy. We also had Linda Brennan sent out these awesome summer challenge tweets. And this one, it has how many families would fit on this towel. So they had to send in their information, they had to put them out thinking. So that was cool. We also had math at our summer social. We had a hundreds chart, we had grade 10 games, and just a really fun day in the summer. We also, for the first time, did a summer STEAM challenge. So we had different challenges. Miss Lanisi and Miss Brennan, Miss Lanisi and Mrs. Green, excuse me, set up summer STEAM challenges. If you click on the link on your later time, you can see some of the entries. And this young lady actually turned her quesadilla into a fidget spinner, and it really worked. So she was really excited. So it was a really, and this parent actually came to the summer social and said to me, I love that you're doing engineering with the kids. This is so great. And she got excited about the engineering design process, but it was great, and it really spins. So she was really, so she's cutting it, so it's really cool. Good stuff. Okay, so last year for the 2016-17 school year, we had several math actions that we were committed to, specifically hands-on, minds-on math practices. You'll see there that kids are using number lines, they're using dice, they're using counters, they're using 10 frames, hundreds charts, all for the kids to use, have more constructivist approach to mathematics, more hands-on. We also bought all the Greg 10 math games. We were committed to that. We had our thank you to Title I and our PTA. We had Greg 10 Senior and Greg 10 Junior at RP Hunter. And he did a PT session with the teachers and also had a family math night, so we were really lucky. And the kids, we purchased the games, and the kids, every Tuesday we do 10 Tuesday, which you buy. They get 5 puzzles a week, and it really impacted our scores. We also have something really cool called Math Ambassadors. Miss Brennan is incredible. And she came to me and said, I have this really cool idea of taking 4th and 5th graders and having them go into the lower grade and teach the kids the math games and work with them. So, of course, I'm like, yay, this is great. So they had an application process, they were selected, they were trained, and they were deployed into the K-3 classrooms. And they gave up their lunch and recess, and you see there, they're teaching the kids math games. The teachers commented back, because we wanted feedback, it's like a ticket process. And they said, what would I have done without the math ambassadors? They kept the kids focused, and it was great because they're learning and they're teaching the younger kids. So the math ambassadors is a really cool thing that we're doing at RP Connor. New for this year, we're still doing all the same practices from last year. We're just building on our successes. So this year we're trying differentiated math stations. So you'll see there that Miss Burr and Mr. Enriquez, they are the bilingual class together, and Miss Burr has a math station. Mr. Enriquez has a station. There are other independent stations, and the kids move through the stations, and the stations are based on math data, and they are aligned to the needs of the students. So again, moving along the learning trajectory and helping our kids where they are to move forward. So that's really cool. We're also doing more of our problem-based learning. So you'll see there the kids are working through a problem. They're talking. They are, discussing what to do, making a plan, their action with the manipulatives, working out the solution, and then they share out. So we're doing a lot more of that this year. And then really cool, creating math stories. Again, Linda Brennan, she's a rock star. She is doing some work with the UK, doing some research. I know, she's awesome. And it's about writing math stories. So she said, Ellie, so what I say? Sure, let's do it. So she's working with the kids on applying their mathematical understanding and writing math stories. So not only are you reinforcing the work of Teachers College, you're also engaging the kids in really, truly explaining their mathematical understanding. So that's really powerful new work for us. Another new thing for this year, everyone elementary has Dreambox. This is an adaptive math program. It's awesome because it meets you where you are and it helps you, again, to go along the learning trajectory. We're using it in the K2 for all students. We're also using it in grade 5. We have a lot of 5th graders who are really operating at a middle school level. The program goes up to 8th grade. So we're using it on the high end as well. We also, for the first time, have K-5 STEAM enrichment. This is really cool. Miss Lanisi is our new instructional facilitator, part instructional part math, and she is pulling students for enrichment. They're working through different STEAM projects, and Miss Bean is building upon that, but for her work, the kids are actually with their own problems, and they're going through the process to solve them. So whereas Miss Lanisi is teaching them the process, and they're going through things that she's established, they're actually writing their own in the upper grade. And then Miss Lanisi pushes into classrooms. On the bottom there, you'll see that there's a little pumpkin. The kids have to design a tool to move the pumpkin. So Miss Lanisi put them on Twitter, these hysterical videos, and they're like, no, go back to the drawing board. They had to really figure out how do we do this. So we're really engaging the kids in that manner. We also have every month Maker Math and STEAM challenges. So if you're not in enrichment, if you're not part of the pushing program, every kid participate in this. So we have the pumpkin challenge this month. They are Thanksgiving floats, and they're awesome. This one came in earlier after today. It was had like Cinderella on it or something. It was so cute. So they have different maker mats where they do different things with recyclable objects. So it's all from recyclables. So we don't want kids spending money on anything. It's just stuff you have in your house. And then they tweet them, they email them, they can bring it in, and we have like a nice little celebration. But what's great is the parents are saying that they at home can really see what is this engineering design process. Like, what does it look like when they're seeing their children work through it and then have failure, fix it, and then be successful. So we're getting great feedback on that. Okay. So one of our things last year that we really wanted to do for 2016-17 was offer leadership opportunities for our kids in grades 3 through 5. So we were really fortunate. We had the Girls in the Run team in the spring. It was our first one. We had 15 girls to the Girls in the Run. We also had the Cougar Chronicles, Math Ambassadors, which I spoke about earlier, and then Safety Patrol. So of all these opportunities, 45% of the students participated in one of the activities. And there's more kids do multiple, but just wanted to give you data on who's in at least one of them, and that's 45%. So next year, this year, we want to increase that number by at least 10%. So we have some new stuff for this year to get other kids involved in leadership. So for last year, just to recap the Cougar Chronicles, I mentioned this last year, but 2 of my nieces, who are now in the middle school, came to me and asked if they could have a newspaper. So we created an application. We went through the application, just like the students, and the kids are actually, they publish, it's once a month, thank you. It's beautiful, and just to be part of the process is so incredible. So we published the newspaper, it's online. We were in the Journal News last year, and that was exciting for the kids. And at the end of the school year, you see the chief was in one of our issues, and Maria Gaglione actually went to the police station. She had her own questions, and the chief said to me, she was so professional.
She told me my desk was messy, by the way. So.
He's like, she had a laser, she had questions. He's like, wow. So it was great because we meet, we talk about what's happening in the village, what's happening in the school, and then they reach out to different various members of the community, and even Hilburn, and we have them featured in our newspaper. And it's online, so grandma can read it in Florida, it reaches the masses. And then, so at the end of the school year, we had to pick who we're going to pass the torch to. So Maria and Evangeline are the new editors for the 2017-18 school year. This year, I taught the girls how to do layout, which I didn't teach the girls last year. So this year, they're actually designing the pages themselves, they're linking the articles themselves, and the video. And Evangeline is quite the iMovie, she takes the best movies. And then we have, for the first time, this Babcock there, she is our editor in training. And then the kids also came and said, can we have a student council? I could not take on anymore. So Ms. Bean thankfully said, I will work with you on this. So we have the new Cougar Congress. And we met last week to develop their mission statement. And so I'm excited to share out with you what good things come out of that. But it's 4th and 5th graders. They had to write an essay saying how they cared for someone. And it was anonymous. And the kids picked 2 kids from every classroom, and they were selected. So it was totally anonymous, which was exciting to see who got chosen. So for the 2017-18 school year, we're going to build upon. So we're building upon the success of last year, and for this year, over the course of last year, my wellness committee, we talked about, what does PBIs look like in our school? So PBIS is Positive Behavior Intervention Systems, and we wanted to see, do kids really know what it is? Do kids really understand the expectations of the school, and is it working? My first year. So we worked together to revamp the PAWS acronym. So now it stands for, because safety should always be first. So put safety first, act appropriately, work towards success, and show respect and kindness became our new PAWS for this school year. And what's great about this is that when a student does something, we'll say, are you putting safety first? And they're like, well, no, I was running. Okay, well, let's walk. So things like, so it's really been helpful, and we're calling it the RP Connor Code. So just the other day we were doing a lesson, and the teacher said, do you know what the golden rule is? So the kindergartner proudly raised the hand, and he said, I do. She said, what is it? It's the RP Connor Code. So we're excited. So also part of that, we also have new matrices, which the teachers in the committee went through The teachers went through them, and the final layer was the safety patrol, because the kids really live this every day. They'll say, "Miss Dowd, we throw the mulch, put that in there. I can, I can stop when they blow the whistle." And so the kids actually vetted the final piece to make sure that it really matched up with the language of the school. And they're all written in our CAN statements because we believe that the children can. And we also came up with building-wide goal. We have this box. Gino, our very own Mountie superstar, is a tremendous carpenter who belongs to RV Hunter. I found this really cool box on Pinterest, and I sent him a picture. I'm like, "Gino, please, can you build this for me?" And of course, he built this incredible box, and it's huge. So we're going to fill it. And there are blue lines on it. You can't see because the kids are crowded in front of it. And it's when you get to the first blue line, we'll have a building prize. Second blue line. When you get to the tippy top, which we're going to get there, the kids get a day off of school, so they get to come to school and just have a great time and just have some fun. So it's the box is huge. If you ever come to RV Counter, it's pretty big. But what's cool is the teachers, the students are giving out kindness cards, appreciation cards, feel your ride cards, tickets. I give the teachers, it's called passenger appreciation because they're on my bus, I'm on their bus, it's a whole thing. So we're putting our tickets into the box, and so one class behaving, we want all the classes to behave. We work together. So it's really, so far, it's going really well. And the kids walk by and they're so proud to dump their ticket in there. And I'm like, "You can bring it home first, show your parents," and then they bring it back and put it in the box. So we also are doing the Great Bus Race this year. We had 33% of our referrals last year were on the bus, so we have to tighten that up. You can be safe going home. So I had a meeting with the bus drivers in September. They came over to RP Connor. I shared them the ICANN statements around the bus, going with our pause, expectations, and I said to them, "Here's a red, here's a green card. When you pull up in the morning, if it was a good ride, show the green. If it was a bad ride, show the red." And then Mr. Barons writes down blue, if it's a good or a bad. When you get to 5 greens, you get a star on our graph. When you get to the finish line, you get a trophy and a picture with the kids in front of the bus. So driver 60 told me he's going to win, and he's in the lead. He's going to ask me what the prize was. It's not recorded. Yeah. So it's going well. We haven't had any bus referrals yet, so the kids are into it. So the last thing is the RPC Energy Bus. This is just the coolest thing. I don't know if you've ever read John Gordon's book, The Energy Bus. There's one for students and one for adults. We purchased the book for all the teachers. All have the adult copy if they wanted to read it. All the classroom teachers have the student version for their kids. And we kicked off the school year really getting on the bus. And it really is around enjoying your ride, being positive, giving the adults and the students tools to navigate life. Life can be hard. Your wheels get stuck in the mud, and how do you get out of the mud? How do you continue to move forward in life? So we were so lucky. The PTA, they're just awesome. They brought in the energy bus. And we had a PD session in the morning, and then we had a student assembly in the afternoon, and it really kicked off our school year in a really positive way. And also, every single month, we have a different character education trait. This month it's courage. Every month it's something else. And we have, thankfully to PTA, we have programming that lines up to the monthly traits. So we're not having an outside person come in, like we had Nikki Spears come in. It's going to be us having, a nice rah-rah pep rally and celebrating our successes as a team. So just to close, on Saturday when I was at the Girls in the Run race, my PTA president said to me, Kelly, she called me Kelly. Sounds right. She said, we're growing a kinder, gentler world, 470 kids at a time. So I felt really good about that. So we really started off our school year in a really positive way, and we really are avoiding the negative vampires, as John Gordon says, and just enjoying our ride and staying positive. So that's it.
No, I thank you for your presentation. It's great to see you, all your staff here.
That's my crew. We just couldn't have it without the teachers. I'm just getting blessed every day to be the principal of the school. But it really is all a testament to the hard work that they do and dedication to the kids, and just every day just making a difference.
Thank
So we're
you.
very lucky.
Thank you, good
Thank
job.
you so
Good
much.
job.
You have a
Thank
great
you.
group,
Thank you.
and the PTA.
Oh, I love them. I love them.
It's awesome to see the partnership that is
Oh,
developed there.
if you've seen our new flags we have up, have you been by our Connor? The fifth grade gift went up, these amazing Cougar Pride flags are on the flag poles. Gorgeous. So very lucky. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Okay, hi.
Well, the fans wait to me to make sure I ask a question.
Oh, there you go.
It depends on me to do that. This is how we scare you guys. I'm just gonna ask. So here's the question. It wouldn't be fair to all the others that have asked. I've asked the question. So here I am. So the question is about the fourth grade. So you have that
Absolutely.
incredible graph early on. You
The
can pull that out, Mary, please.
Yep, the 24%.
Yeah.
Here, can you get me that?
About like the fourth page.
Yeah.
So is there anything different about this particular grade that you can see that incredible, 24 to 64 increase within one school year? Can you
Well,
attribute that to anything other than, that's different from the other grades?
I honestly, it was just my first year last year in the school, and when I came in, one thing that we did notice was the third graders, the second grade students take the assessments and they're read to them, the second grade test. So coming into third grade, you're now like, wait, the kids are not what the computer said they were. So we really looked at the third grade data going into fourth grade to say, are we really targeting our interventions appropriately to meet the needs of the students? That learning trajectory was really important, goal for us. So when I looked at the fourth grade, this is low. What are we doing here? So the teachers said, are we reading? Are we doing guided reading? What are we doing? So we really had some really great conversations around the literacy block and what's going on there, and we made a commitment for independent reading, because the truth is, if you go to basketball practice, which we play sports, and the coach dribbles and the coach shoots and you just sit there on the bench, you're not going to play the game on Saturday. You cannot dribble that ball. So we talked about relinquishing the power, giving the students books, and Miss McKeon, who's here tonight, Cindy, where are you? Cindy came to me and she said, Kelly, you're not going to believe this. Come here, I'll show you something. So I went downstairs and she opened up these closets full of books. And I had a heart attack. So I'm like, why are they locked up? Getting out of there. And we set up tables, right, Cindy? Mm-hmm. It was fun. Ed wanted to kill us. But we set up tables in the hallway, and the teachers started to, they could read whatever they want. And I said, yeah, voice and choice. I don't want to read what you want me to read, I want to read. So we really shifted our thinking around literacy, and we gave the kids books. And we decided what mattered and what didn't. What matters more, going over homework or really engaging in a great book for a half hour. And we chose to give up the things that really weren't a high priority item for us. And the kids were excited. We then started to realize, we don't have enough of some of the books the kids like. So we went back out, we bought more books, and we really worked with the librarian and the local library to and honestly, it's reading. That's what we did. We got the kids to read. Enthusiasm. Which class was it the kid brought the book to the bathroom? And she said to me, what did we do here, guys? I'm excited. It's a plastic on it. Right? So the kids wanted to read, and the best part was, this is the greatest impact, to answer your question, was the reluctant readers. The reluctant readers were reading. It is very difficult to get third graders, boys especially, to read books. They don't like the books that you have, so we really matched the right books to the right kids. And the reluctant readers were reading for the first time, and I think that graph in the hallway really impacted the success, because the kids were like, I want to get a medal. What do I have to do to get that book? And some kids, pretended to read Harry Potter and then didn't get the 44 points that you needed, but, we worked with that. But I really think it was giving the kids books, giving the kids choice, and allowing the teachers to let the kids read. Sounds crazy.
But there's nothing about this particular grade population that stands out at you.
Well, you know what? We had that group in particular had the ICT class. Well, actually, that was not the ICT group. No, it was just that was third grade. No, it was just that was just what it was. And honestly, we really made a commitment to literacy. We also looked at our data and figured out who is 2 years below who was a year below, and the kids that were 2 years below had a double dip of service. We really looked at our data and just said, where does
And
the,
targeted specifically.
yeah, where does the love have to go? You know,
And on the
love.
following slide,
Sure.
I can get there for you.
And then I see here at the NWEA that the expectation is higher than the fact. So if you can explain why that was.
You mean the growth projection?
Yeah.
So we-
Projection was more than that,
Yeah,
right?
so what, this one is really cool too, it's another place of targeting. So the kids take a test and the computer sets a goal. So the goal is not proficiency, the goal is, you know, could be, depending on where they are, it's like you go over here, you go over here. So for this one, we used the reports and we printed it out. It said, okay, so these students are here, these students are here, these are in the middle, and we use the reports to plan our instruction. You know, that's simple. You know, and there's really no magic to it, it really just is using data to drive instruction.
Is there a reason that the same grade came
Fourth grade?
lower than, yeah?
Well, that's the only grade, and this one I do believe, it's because the students really were grabbing onto literacy. You're at a 24% entry, you're exiting 64, so they're not at proficiency yet as readers, but, you know, that to me is very close. They did a nice job there. You know, it really is growth, it's just not hitting the target, but the other grade levels obviously exceeded it, but that grade really worked hard.
It's the same grade though,
I
so
know,
that's what I
yeah.
can understand.
You know what, I don't know, I can't.
Different type of test.
Well, you know,
different-
superior adaptive versus DRA,
That's
two
what I-
different assessments. It is different, but we're still super proud of that growth, you know, that, I mean, and you saw the pie chart, which I'll show you, which is super exciting. Look at that 5th grade is the last year's 4th grade. So look at that growth, right? So any student that maybe didn't hit their growth in springtime, in the fall they did. So that's really
I also
exciting.
believe test taking percentages and lower percentages on opt-outs are still good at RP Common in comparison to our.
Yeah, we had
other
170 students take the assessment last year, and actually some parents said their kid's not just taking it this year too. They really, you know what, we don't teach to the test, we don't chase it, we just, you know, it's a day in your life, and we meet kids where they are, and, you know, whatever support they need, we do. We just don't talk about it. When the test comes, they take it, and we keep going, but we did, our school did, I believe, rather well on it, but we don't spotlight it, we don't teach to it, we teach to where you are and help you to grow along the trajectory.
Thank you.
Sure.
Can you elaborate just a bit more on, on how you're using the NWEA scores in your building?
Yeah, sure. So, you know, as only my second year as the principal, and I will say NWA was not an assessment that I was familiar with prior to coming here. So I learned myself last year how to use it. This year, Lisa Colby from BOCES, she's working with our teachers. She came in and helped our teachers to look at the data more closely, and she's coming back in February. So what we're doing is looking at the learning progressions chart, which I think is a nice tool, because it spotlights for the standard where the students are falling along the progression. So, you know, maybe you're a 4th grader, but you're really operating in a 3rd grade reading area for informational reading, let's say. But then other kids are operating over here. So just using it to plan instruction and then goal set. And also for the ENL teachers, looking at the vocabulary strand to move the ENL students. That's a really big piece.
So you're evaluating each student individually based on their scores, not just as a overall percentage.
Learning trajectory. So we're looking at everything. And that's really the only way you can move. You can't use one data point, you use multiple data points. We use the state assessment data as well. You know, it's not up here tonight, but we use that too to say like but for that one, we look at the cohort. So where are you progressing along? And you know, you have to, because you just can't, you know, 64% is great, but if you dig deep into that data, how much growth have you really made? Which is why we shifted to 2nd grade, which I'm super happy about.
And do you use those scores for, you know, for future placement, I guess you do, and for things like enrichment?
For enrichment, it's a piece of the process. There's a district enrichment protocol that you follow. So students have to follow, I believe it's the 98th percentile for enrichment. I don't remember, 97% percentile to be chosen for that. We also look at the state test. So typically a student gets a 4, they're getting a 97%, 98%, and then they are selected to be in it. But enrichment is tough. You know, Miss Bean actually added a 3rd layer because we had so many kids that we wanted to put in there, but we just couldn't fit into math and ELA. So she added a STEAM component because we wanted to meet needs of more than just the 98% kids. So we captured a group that's like 89, 85, who were like, you know what, these kids need something. And we scooped them in. And Miss Bean this year is doing a second grade enrichment group too, and so is Miss Lanisi. Because we just, we want to make sure that everyone is captured. Because not everyone gets AIS and enrichment, so other things do happen for them. So it's my second year using the program. I'm really enjoying it. I was a little intimidated by it at the beginning. There's a lot of reports in there, but once you figure out which reports are going to help you solve your problems, it helps to move the school. But the teachers aren't afraid of data at RP Connor. And they don't mind. They make awesome spreadsheets and they plan their instruction, and it's a nice place to be when the teachers are professionals and they know what to do. They tailor the instruction to the individual kids and they move along the trajectory. Did I answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you also to all the teachers.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 3.02. Dr. Boyd.
Great job. Connor Cougar's great job. Good evening, board members, Central Office Administration. As always, it's a pleasure to be with you in the fall 17 and to review our 2017-18 Comprehensive School Improvement Plan. The clicker is on. All right, here we go. So we talk about Solsburg Elementary School. Everything draws from the culture we try to prepare for our students. We want our students to feel a sense of belonging, want them to feel a sense of engagement, and want them to feel a sense of achievement. When we talk about student belonging, we greet them in the mornings with great warm welcomes. We have school-level jobs, we have classroom-level jobs. We talk about student engagement. We have flexible settings for our students, we have personalized instruction. When we talk about achievement, we try to recognize great character and academic performance at Solsburg. We also hope that through this culture of building student belonging, engagement, achievement, we believe that we can capture that experience with children, that they can develop into literate critical thinkers who possess creativity, character, and practice healthy living. We also recognize that it takes a team to make this happen. Paul and Simmer, they write for the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development as instructional leaders. She had a very simple quote: the more reflective you are, the more effective you are. So we're going to work to be reflective this evening by going back on 16-17. We'll talk about the goals we set for ourselves as a school, how we did with those goals, and what we're looking to do for the 17-18 school year. As Ms. Dowd said earlier, we have 3 priorities typically in our CSD plans. We have literacy priorities, we have mathematical priorities, and we have social emotional priorities for our schools. When we talk about literacy, we use a couple of different measurements. One measurement that was discussed in the most previous presentation is the developmental reading assessment. It's commonly called the DRE2. Last fall, when our children came into us in grades 1 through 5, the overall average proficiency, students on benchmark was 54%. They left at the end of last year on 61% level. So we had 7% growth. We were aiming for 15% growth. We didn't capture that, but we made positive movement forward. And the reason I'm sharing this second chart with you is because one of the things we noticed last spring is that we're leaving groups of students right below level. So this is information we're using right now to target those students in grades 3, 4, 5, and below. But I thought it was a nice chart to look at. It shows what level of students are proficient, those who are right below level, built-in benchmark, and those who are well below level, probably receiving AIS services. But this is information we use to target those students during regular instruction and IE block. Another measurement we use for ELA is, as Ms. Dad said earlier, is the NWEA ELA results. And in previous years, we would actually take a look at cohorts. Last year we started looking at, as Mr. Kern said, individual students. So what we do is we administer very much like the DRA in the fall. It's administered in the fall, the winter, and the springtime. And those scores give our students an overall score and then projected growth for the year. So we use the 16-17 year to establish a baseline looking at students on an individual level. And what we noted was that across grades 2 through 5, 64% of our students met or exceeded their personal learning goals, which is a nice start for us. One thing that would jump out to the naked eye is what happened in 3rd grade, why were only 44% of those students meeting or exceeding their learning projections. And I went back in time, and what I noticed was that particular cohort started at a very high level in the fall. That was a very strong group, and what happened was the NWA gave the projections that they might have just missed, but they didn't capture. So they started out strong, they ended strong, but because they started out strong, the projections were a little bit out of reach for some of those students. When we talk about mathematics, we also used the Suffern Central School District Common Math Assessment. And again, it's cumulative. So if you're first grade, you're getting tested on what you're learning in first grade and second grade and so forth. So last year, our students came in at a 68% proficient level, and they left the year with 3% growth at 71%. As you can see, we aimed for 11%. So again, we didn't hit the goal, but we made forward movement, which was good for us. Again, another snapshot we used is the NWA math growth scores. Student proficiency, we looked at our students' individual projected growth for the year, and they left 75% of our students met or exceeded their NWA math learning projections. So again, we're very pleased with those scores. One thing we noticed in our ELA and our math scores, when you look at our DRA and our NWA scores and our math scores, they're all fairly similar. Right now, we're kind of projecting at 65% proficiency for DRA and the ELA NWA scores, and mathematics, we're kind of hovering in the mid-70s, so there's some sense of correlation between those two snapshots. Looking back and considering our school mission, a couple different ways we like to measure our school mission is participation in a number of major functions at Suffern Elementary School. And in the 16-17 school year, we had 89 students who participated in cross-country in grades 3, 4, and 5 with Coach Wojciechowski. We had great participation. Our budding green team that we established last year, we had 88 children across grades K to 5 who helped us during cafe time, and I'll try to elaborate on that in a little while. And we recognized formally 125 students each month for character recognition. We also have individual postcards that go home that I don't necessarily track as the building principal, because we have our teachers catching kids doing great things in the hallways, and they'll send home a postcard. And because they're going home so often, it's not something I've measured, but I know it happens on a regular basis. One concern we had going into the 16-17 school year was that in the 15-16 school year, overall student attendance had dropped to 95.3%, which was a concern for us. So that was certainly an area that we wanted to improve upon. We also noted that 30% of our children in 15-16 had chronic absenteeism, which is 10 plus days more out of school. So we initiated a couple different things. We made some summer calls to some of our families who noticed they're having issues getting their children to school. And every trimester, we sent home individual letters to children who were 5 days or more tardy or absent. It's always hard to measure these things, but we think that gave us a good push. If anything, it gave us an awareness. In the 16-17 year, you can see our student attendance, overall attendance improved from 95.3% to 96%. So again, that was exciting for us. And the chronic absenteeism dropped from 30% to 23%. So we were happy about that. I mentioned a little while ago, we have a green team that we established last year, and to be honest with you, it's the culmination of hard work between the Rockland County Waste Authority, between Hospitality Green, between a fantastic faculty and staff, and just awesome children. We were observing about 12 bags of garbage leaving our cafe on a daily basis, and for a small school, we were kind of like, gee whiz, this is a bit much. So in March and April of last year, we conducted some training with Hospitality Green. We had a lady named Mrs. Abadi Giannini, who's still working with our school. She trained our green team, and through their efforts, we've realized a reduction in waste, and we've moved from 12 bags of daily waste to 3 bags of daily waste. And that is consistent happening at Suffern Elementary School. Thank you. We're really proud of that. So those are some scorecard points from the 16-17 school year. Now we'll move to the 17-18 with some new targets. We had a lot of conversations this fall with our grade level teachers, and what we try to do is, after we administer the DRA assessment, we take a look at a focus for instruction and where we think particular students can move along the year. We do believe we can achieve an average increase in proficiency of 5% across our building. So we're looking to move from about 61% proficiency to somewhere around 66% proficiency. Those students who might not leave our benchmark level in grades 1 through 5, we're going to work to have them make or exceed 1 year's growth. Additionally, on the NWA, I wanted to say we achieved 64% proficiency for students meeting their individual projections. Again, we think we can bump that to right around 70%. One of the things that Ms. Dowd mentioned earlier, there's a lot of tools that are embedded within NWA. It becomes kind of overwhelming sometimes if you don't have proper training. So like RP, we had Mrs. Lisa Colby join our school as well in the fall, and she unlocked a couple tools that we were aware of, but we might not necessarily have been using. One of those tools is called a learner profile, and what that tool enables you to do is open up an individual student's ELA and math growth, but then it gives you specific strands that they're struggling with. So that's a targeted instruction that certainly Kelly spoke of, and that's a targeted instruction that we look to promote at Silsburg Elementary School. And through that, we're hoping to achieve 69 to 70% of students meeting or exceeding their NWA ELA learning projections. Thinking about mathematics, again, we continue to use the Suffern Central School District Common Math Assessments. This is logos of our math specialists at K to 2 and 3 to 5. I like we gave you some terms. And after this fall right now, we're in the process of administering, that was a joke, we're in the process of administering the math common assessments, and what we've asked our K to 3 math specialists and our 4 to 5 math specialists to do is to actually dig back into last year's common assessment results and identify deficiencies. Anything that we hit beneath the 70% success rate in grades 1 through 5, we've asked our math specialists to bring that information back to our teachers and co-develop focus and supportive activities so we can kind of close the gap in those areas. And again, with that in mind, we're looking to achieve 76% of our students achieving proficiency on the common assessments. The last math goal we have for the year is, like the ELA, we want to have grade level cohorts in grades 2 to 5 achieve an average increase of 5% in reaching their individual learning projections. And again, I'm not going to reference the tool I referenced earlier for the ELA, but the learner profile, it's there for mathematics as well. We're hoping to reach 80% of students meeting or exceeding their individual math learning projections. Speaking of social emotional wellness, last year we had mentioned that student attendance rose to 96% overall, and chronic absenteeism decreased to about 49 students. So for the 17-18 year, our target is to move to 97% overall student attendance and have chronic absenteeism decreased by about 50% to 25 students. So that's our goal. We're going to go for it and see what happens. All right. We talk about character. I think in my first year here when I was with you, one of the first things I introduced was character rallies, where we enable our students to have face time with myself, the building principal, on a monthly basis. And it's a really nice opportunity for kids to get to know me and me to get to know the kids. And what I've done over the last 4 years is we've explored different concepts together in the library, such as caring, citizenship, fairness, respect, responsibility, trustworthiness, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We want our kids to have more face time with clinicians who are experts in their field. We were really lucky enough to pry away Dr. Peter Fishkin from Montebello last spring, and he's now joined us at Silsburg Elementary School. And when Pete met in my office in the springtime, we started talking about prioritizing his schedule as our new school psychologist. He didn't know me, I didn't know him, but we knew what we wanted to accomplish. And one of the things we talked about is a model that's been used at the middle level for many years. It's called an advisory. And the concept is a teacher or a clinician meets with children on a scheduled basis to have face time. What I think many of our families are missing across the country. Just time to talk about being kids, working through conflict, working through cooperation, talking about empathy with the kids. So our goal for this year is not only to continue implementing the character rallies that I have with children, but to integrate Peter into our school through implementing the second step program. He's going to go into our classrooms K to 5, and our goal is to achieve a baseline number of 5 hours per classroom throughout the school year. And if you worked it out in your mind, that would be 1/2 hour for every month that Peter's in a classroom with children talking about different character concepts. Coming back to the green team, we had a good time disposing of waste last year and really reducing that waste leaving the building. Our green team and Mrs. McKieran, our school's instruction facilitator, we came up with an idea of trying to have another outreach to our community and reducing the recycles, actually taking the recycles off our families' hands and repurposing those materials in our budding Creators Code, which is our take on the makerspace. We'll get to that in a minute. So our initial collection this trimester, we collected 6 juice containers from our Silsburg families, 20 milk jugs, 97 paper towels, 31 plastic bottles, 153 plastic utensils, and 12 shoe boxes. And I believe, Mrs. McKiernan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, a number of those materials were used for our Halloween STEAM Day. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Great. So we're excited, and what we want to do is, now that we have hard numbers of what happened during the first trimester, we're going to look to increase that collection of recyclables from the Sloatsburg community by about 5% between the first semester to the third trimester, because we believe at Sloatsburg that blue and gold equals green. That's our green team logo that one of our children created. Or our child. So we've been talking about the mission and vision at Sloatsburg Elementary School, and as I mentioned earlier, everything stems around students' belonging, engagement, and achievement. So we can get that culture down. We do believe they can take off as literate, critical thinkers who possess character, creativity, and practice healthy living. Last March and April, we took a play out of the Suffern book, and we conducted what we call the SES SWAT team, strategic planning. So we took a look at our school's mission, the culture of the building, and we took a look at the vision, specifically literacy, critical thinking, and character. And we had a hard look at the strengths of our building in these different areas, our weaknesses, opportunities that we think are there, and concerns we have in our building. And what I'll show you is a filtered graph of those conversations. I can promise you that there was much more in these conversations in March and April, but at some point in time, we have to filter it down to actionable moves. I will not go through every area, but what this graph is showing us is our feedback in the areas of literacy and critical thinking, faculty staff feedback in the area of our building environment, and faculty and staff feedback in the areas of character, creativity, and health. And through all these conversations, we talk about strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and concerns, and eventually that filtered and focused into 2017-2018 actions. Again, I'm not going to go through all the actions because I'd like to highlight 3 of those particular actions this evening. And those include, for literacy and critical thinking, we want to emphasize a culture of co-teaching. We have a lot of great resources in our buildings. When you come to walk into our classrooms, when central office walks into our classrooms, when I walk into our classrooms, we want to see our teachers teaching and supporting students. There's a model we use that I'll speak about in a moment. We also talk about repurposing recyclables through the Creators Cove and the Heartland integration that we partner with RP to make happen at both buildings. Before we talk about those particular actions, I need to thank the Board of Education's support you provided us the last several years. We've been working on developing flexible settings across the building, and Howard Gardner once said that enabling environments mobilize the energy, attention, curiosity, and focus of children. And I'm proud to say that all of our K-5 classrooms are now flexibly conducive to our children's needs. You can walk into our building and kids might be standing up, they might be sitting down, they might be on bean bags, they might be at a table that you can raise up. But again, it's not about the furniture. It's about telling kids implicitly that we love them, we care about them, and your learning is important to us. We talk about co-teaching. We drew from the work of our friend, Marilyn Friend. And to be very simplistic, she comes up with a couple different models and ways we can use co-teaching. Co-teaching doesn't have to be a special education approach. It can be used through your E&L instructor, through your literacy instructors, simply pairing up with classroom teachers and performing different models in the classrooms to enhance small group instruction and targeted instruction. So what I tried to do last spring and this fall is capture moments of these opportunities happening. So we have here in September, Mrs. Rodriguez, who's our lovely E&L instructor, who teaches 4th grade. They're station teaching here, which means they each have a small group of students, and they were focused on the same standard of developing students' recognition of character traits and supporting evidence. Another snapshot, we have Mrs. Pullman and Mrs. Reed, who are a consultant teacher team in 2nd grade working with our inclusion students. They're parallel teaching. As students learn ways to subtract, parallel teaching again is taking larger groups of students working on the same topic. So we're trying to bring these models to the surface, work on them with our teachers so that they're deploying themselves in unique ways that they haven't been doing so. So last spring, Ms. Dowd and I called each other up and said, you know, we want to start implementing and integrating some technology into our phys ed classrooms. So look at this trio here. We've got our RP Connor phys ed coaches and our own guy, Coach Wojciechowski. We're working on developing this heart zone system. So right now in our schools, if you came in, we wanted to draw our students' attention to their health. If you came into our gym classes right now, the kids will put wristbands on when they walk into the classroom, and Coach Wojciechowski has numbered each of our children, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, depending on the class, and they know what their number is they can see their heart rate in action as they're working with Coach Wojciechowski. So again, it's saying to children that physical activity equals this to your heart rate, and they see it actually in live motion. It's pretty neat stuff, and we're quite proud of both of our teams. Thank you, Ms. Dow, for teaming up on that. The last area I wanted to highlight is something that's been in the work for about 8 months now. We've been working on developing our take on a makerspace, and I've got to give just a ton of credit to the passion of our faculty and staff, in particular Mrs. Michelle McCarron, who is our new instruction facilitator and math specialist. I think she has a couple other jobs that she has in the building. But those are the two we'll talk about right now. Mrs. McCarron's been working very hard to come up with a framework that is able to find natural points in our K-5 curriculum maps and make them come to life in what we're calling our Creators Cove. I'm not going to say any more. I'm going to have Mrs. McCarron come up and share a few thoughts on the Creators Cove. Come on up, Michelle.
We are the Stillsburg Elementary School Pirates, so we have to have a ship quote in here. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up the team to gather wood, divide the work, and give orders. Instead, teach them to yearn for the vast and endless sea. So if you're familiar with Field of Dreams, if you build it, they will come. This is kind of opposite in engineering. If you want to get there, you better build it. So that's kind of what we're trying to do. The next gen standards have kind of opened the door to the engineering design process, putting more emphasis on that and scientific inquiry. So we took an underutilized space in our building, and it was a second computer lab. And because we have Chromebook cards, people are using those more often. And we said, we can really repurpose this space to make it embrace this problem-based learning that we have now. So we took that room, and it's really cool and welcoming and inviting for kids. There's a green screen in there. Joe Galliano built a recording studio for us. I mean, it's really a fun and welcoming place for kids to come to. So we call it the Creators Cove, because we are so thematic like that. And so you got ship, cove, pirates, it's all coming together now. So in the Creators Cove, it was a natural outgrowth of what Dr. Lloyd was talking about before our faculty meetings. They were looking for more ways for kids to collaboratively problem solve, to pursue their personal interests, to work together towards a common goal, and to be able to increase their intellect through conversations with their peers. So it also it was like a perfect marriage of everything we were trying to do, because we had our green team initiatives, and we thought we could repurpose and recycle, and we wanted to promote a growth mindset, and we wanted to embrace project-based learning. So this kind of all came together really nicely. So some of the things that we're trying to emphasize in the Creators Code is student voice, and having an opportunity to contribute, and actually contributing even when it's not comfortable to contribute, some kids are in that situation. The ability to collaborate, to show passion for a project and engagement, because when they're interested, they are engaged. To promote inquiry. The idea of failing successfully is a tough one for kids. It's a tough one for adults. I have teachers who come in to collaboratively teach with me. They say, wow, I have a really hard time with this type of learning, because we didn't really grow up that way. So there's a learning curve involved with that too. Feedback, both being receptive to feedback and then offering it to your classmates. And reflection, improving on the process. So that's everything that we're trying to emphasize. And because that's so important to us, we decided that every Sloatsburg student had to have the opportunity to have some sort of time in the Creators Cove. So how we did it was we broke it up into trimesters, and we're addressing 2 grade levels per trimester. So this first trimester, we've done kindergarten. So they're doing an introduction to engineering and robotics, and then second grade, we're doing solids, liquids, and then we're going to move on to gases, and that's kind of tied in with what they're learning right now. And to show you just how easy my job is at times. You know, kindergartners, you give them this robot, and you tell them to touch different surfaces with it, and when you do that, it reads the color. So you're like, what? Why do you think that happens? Because remember, you know, when you're 4 and 5 years old and you say, why? Something happens along the way that we forget how to do that. And they recognize that something here on the bottom called sensors, you know, picks up on color. And then they start using these markers that we probably overpay for. But they start coding with color, and because it's in this neat little box, it says Ozobot, but you could probably just use regular markers. And, you know, and it's coming from them, and they're figuring it out, and they're excited about it. So we try to align everything to what they're learning. We have a collaborative teaching model because it's our ultimate goal. Everything in the Creators Code we try to make mobile, because we want teachers to take what they're learning and bring it back to their classroom. You know, your vision is an empty room. That would kill me, but would be exciting too. So, oh, and our lessons are literacy-based. And because these are all the learning behaviors that we're trying to reinforce, whenever we're doing something, we refer to these project-based learning rubrics. So you'll see creativity and innovation, collaboration, demonstrating determination. But the language is a little bit different from K to 2 to 3 to 5. But every time we're working, remember, we're listening to each other's ideas. We're talking and listening equally. So it's a reminder of those behaviors that we're trying to foster. And then 3 to 5 also has a presentation component to it, and then a critical thinking component. So it's kind of designed to grow with them. That's it about our Creators Code. Any questions? Go to Dr. Lloyd.
See, I was going to leave her up and sit down in my seat.
That's why I said preemptive strike.
Thank you, Michelle. Great job.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions, comments? Mine? No?
Dr. Lloyd, that was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you,
I have
sir.
a good question.
Amani does. Amani has a couple.
Comments or important to,
Yeah. Or comments or questions?
they want to comment. Great presentation, and I really like the 3D graphs. I think they give a really clearer presentation of the numbers and how to compare them. So I just have a little concern about the area where we grew 3%. It's still growth, and I commend everybody for that. And, you know, look at it positively, but projection was 11%, so it was really far. What are we doing about it, and what's the plan to catch up?
Yeah, I believe you're referencing last year's common assessment results in mathematics. And as I said, Dr. Dugan, one of the things we will do, and we have done, is we've asked our new K-2 math specialists and our K-3 math specialists and our 4 to 5 math specialists to go back and look at some of the mathematical gaps last year in our grade levels. And we've brought that information back to our classroom teachers so they know the students who left them where the gaps were and what difficulties we have with mathematics. So different based on the grade levels. That information paired with the information we're gleaning from NWA math results will help us to target what students need in those grade levels.
There's an area I can imagine is an area of focus, because the numbers in reading were better, right?
I would say the mathematic numbers would still spread a little bit stronger than the literacy numbers. But again, we are, I think I'd like to call it, you're looking for patterns in the data. You're looking for patterns in data. So when we receive our DRA results or our NWA results, there's so much to cull through. So we try to really focus in on the learner profile within the NWA results, the focused instruction of DRA results, and try to bring those two together and see if there's any patterns for a particular student that we may be able to hit. Other piece is, when we're instructing students in literacy and mathematics, we work to have small group instruction, so we'll try to infuse our literacy specialists into the classroom. So after we've presented a workshop model for literacy, it's not uncommon for Ms. Day to take a group of students for Mrs. Pearl to take a group of students and support those kids in a smaller setting that meets their particular needs.
So I want to clarify by saying the language was stronger, I meant you were closer to your targets. That's what I meant. We're always stronger in that district-wide.
Got it. Yes, correct, yes.
So as far as your green team, you are such a pilot among our schools in this area. And I just want to know, how did you reduce the waste by, or your green team, by such a drastic difference? Can you tell us, was it recycled? Was there a compost post going? I think I heard there is such a thing going on. If you can clarify what you guys did so we can all learn.
Thank you, Dr. Gunn. Those very kind words of you. And one thing I'd like to say is that we learn so much from each other in our sister schools. We all have great things going on in all of our schools. We tried to become a green school of Rockland County last year, and we were successful. We worked through Rockland County Waste Authority and Hospitality Green. We became one of the 3 Rockland County green schools. But to be more specific, and this is going to be an interesting response, what happens is when children go into the cafe to throw up their waste, is the trays bundle up in the garbage and rises everything else up. So the simple process is we stack trays. By removing those trays out of the garbage cans, it simply reduces the waste right there, and we're able to recycle those particular trays. The other piece is there's a lot of uneaten food or products that were getting tossed away. So if there's a milk carton that's been unopened, we now put it in a container, clean it, and use it again. And again, it's been unused. So we refrigerate it and we use that. Or an apple that's been uneaten, it's cleaned and reused again. Those 2 pieces alone have helped to reduce the waste leaving the cafe on a regular basis. Also, we've removed a number of receptacles from our classrooms. We don't need 3 garbage cans in our classrooms. And I think sometimes what happens is when it's right there, you tend to throw more things away. So we're trying to force everyone to think a little bit more about that.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And again, the CSIPs, we had a brief synopsis of them. They're many pages long, like voluminous. So thank you. Well, thank you to the staff who came here to support as well. That being said, where's my agenda? Here we go. 4.01 is the Advocacy Committee report. Oh, that's right. That's
More night.
Hope it wasn't something I said. I was quiet.
I'm going to your restaurant.
Okay, so before the report, I used a little bit of time while everyone exits to remind our board president and admin that there are several outstanding items that have not made the agenda after multiple requests by email and at board meetings. Namely, the drinking water testing, the high school pool water, yes, that's what's going on.
Okay.
And these are, again, please bring them in on a future agenda as either an information or discussion item. They're important concerns. And as an action item, I know my board colleague, Mr. Kern, had requested an action item for a vote. That did not make the agenda as well. And I'm also confirming that I've supported that position. So please put those on a future agenda. For the Advocacy Committee, the Advocacy Committee met on Tuesday, November 14th in Hillburn. We had 2 board members in attendance. One could not make it, and 2 members from the community were also in attendance. The committee discussed the status of outstanding bills, including the revised school tax collection bill, which is still awaiting governor's decision after passing both the Assembly and Senate unanimously, and also the school election board bill, which is also, I believe, in the same stage. The committee will continue to bring to the board advocacy recommendations throughout the year as they become appropriate. For example, we should expect in the month of January information regarding the state executive budget and whatever expenditures the governor proposes in terms of education funding. So look out for that comes January. We will also schedule meetings again with area local legislators and assembly members, as these were very helpful last year. Of the recommendations that the committee has made at the June 6th Board of Ed meeting of the last school year, we are bringing back 3 recommendations to be the focus initiative for the time being. So those will be, we recommend pre-K funding through New York State and other funding resources. The second item is reevaluation of the Suffern Central School District poverty rankings and state school aid. Mr. Bashar had said he'd be willing to look into those numbers and let us know if a reevaluation would be helpful. Also, the third item is legislature to make available to the school districts in general anti-bullying and LEAD programs. So all 3 items will require some collaboration with the administration to see how we can advocate best and how it would benefit our district specifically. And so we look forward to possibly some sort of communication and back and forth to find out if those 3 items can be rolled out soon, and we can ask the community to participate advocating for specifically what in those items, okay? And then, other discussions happened in the meeting that I'm deleting off this report and will forward as a separate email as per your request. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt, or Tom, well, Tommy.
No, I was,
Do you have anything to, you're on.
I think that was good. I think it's a good recap. I think the 3 items that Monty brought up is what we're looking to target. I think it's pretty focused. I think what we're looking for, and it doesn't have to be obviously right now because we're just bringing it up, but perhaps in the next meeting, just some direction from the rest of the board on whether these are 3 areas that we'd like to proceed in.
Were there any, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Were there any other ideas brought up as far as any other points of advocacy? I'm just saying that we're saying 3. Was there?
We made recommendations back in June with more items, but we were asked to bring fewer and focus on 3. So we're bringing 3 because of the request made in June. Exactly, but I want to elaborate a little bit if there's time. So for example, pre-K funding, we want to know from our administration, if we were able to advocate for pre-K funding, to extend our program to a full day, for example, do we see the numbers growing? Do we see that being beneficial to Suffern Central specifically? And if so, then we can definitely spearhead that as a community effort.
I think maybe before we take a vote, before these recommendations, is have that information.
Right.
To say, okay, because we don't know.
To start off with just some data.
Right, exactly. So we know what effect it will have, and do we focus our resources on 1, 2, or 3, or 1 and 2 and 3, or whatever it is, to see which one has the most effect, the greatest effect, because obviously we're limited in people to a certain extent. So
we need administrative information and some research to know, would it help, number 1, if we had more funding statewide? First of all, this was brought up by Ellen at our meeting last year and said that there was something the Assembly was pushing for. Would that help us? Because then we would back this up and support it as a district. Also, would reevaluating our poverty margins, if Mr. Bashar can come back with some data, would that help us? Does he see that we need that reevaluation? Then we would support that.
And that was a big discussion in the last year's budget.
Yes, exactly. So I think, you could support 2 or 3, but it depends what's going to be specifically beneficial to you.
Right, why don't you guys, whenever you have your next meeting then, or at least before that, garner, get all that information.
Well, I don't think we should wait till the next meeting. I think now that we have those, if we have an okay of the board, then we could start working with the administration on gathering data and finding out if it's helpful to our district or not.
Right, and then before we vote on whether or not that's where we want to go, when we go outside the district, is we need that information to do it.
So if we have permission to communicate with
You always have
administration.
permission, as a committee, you have to find all the data and information you need and then present it to the board saying, this is why we want to do number one, this is why we want to do number two.
Great.
So, you know, gather that information. I mean,
So we'll be sending more communications to everyone and maybe
well,
scheduling
more
meetings
towards,
wherever it's.
not to every board member.
No.
Yeah,
to-
yeah, okay.
To, Dr. Adams will direct us to who should work with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Thank you.
There we go. We have, okay, public participation. This is public participation as to any school district business. This session will last no longer than 30 minutes. If you have a comment, please step up to the podium, state your name, school affiliation, and please, if you could, leave an email address or some sort of contact information. And again, pursuant to policy 1230, 1400, and 3240, please refrain from making comment with respect to any district personnel, staff, or student. Okay, seeing none, right? I'm blind.
Yes, you can see.
Seeing none. All right, I'll close that portion of the meeting. Enjoy your holiday, enjoy your time off. Couple of days that we have. And get ready for school tomorrow. It's gonna be a big day. Motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Second.
Happy
And
Thanksgiving.
remember, choose kindness.
Yes, amen.